understand the PPF functionality in EWM. So the name goes as post-processing framework. So it seems quite daunting or quite technical. There is certainly a technical piece in it involved in it, but from the functional side, we'll try to understand what exactly it is and what is the purpose of it. So I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So those who are coming from the ECC background, you know, so just an example, in ECC, we used to have the output types, which are still there in S4HANA, the output type to print out. So printout is just a one example of PPF in EWM. It is not the whole and sole objective of PPF just to print out, right? So if you want to, let's say you have an inbound delivery and you want to post the good receipt automatically, and that is the example we're going to take here to understand the PPF. So the purpose of PPF is to automate a function based on certain event. We want system to perform that activity rather than operator doing it. Another example is that you are creating the handling unit labels. So there are two choices now. So either you want to print the labels, explicitly by clicking certain buttons, or you want system to print it automatically. And certainly there will be a printer determination so that the printout HU labels are coming at the designated printer. Suppose you have received the inbound delivery and it is distributed in EWM. Now the delivery is without the handling unit. So there are 3 to 4 mechanisms through which you can pack it, or system can pack it, right? So there's an option in S4 you can pack it based on your packing instruction. If you are using the unified package builder, then you can choose the pack spec or the pack instruction, right? Or if you have not packed it in S4, you can like with the pack instruction, you can pack it manually by entering the packaging material. And if you have not packed it in S4, you can pack it, in PRDI transaction, or you can use the RF transaction to pack the materials then and there itself. So there are different avenues. Now the thing is that once you have packed the product, you would need the handling unit labels, and you want to paste those labels on the boxes which you have systematically created, so that you can scan those barcodes in rest of your process, in the put away process, or maybe you want to pick the whole box. So so you want to ultimately you want to print them, right? Now, so printing is one of the example. Now, another example is that let's say you have received a outbound delivery and you want it to be assigned to a wave. And now wave management is not a new concept. It has been there, prior to EWM as well. It was there in the SD side and, probably in the WM side, may or may not be, I don't recall precisely, but so wave management. So what ultimately wave management does is that you want to club certain delivery line items together. So wave management is at delivery line item level, right? Now again, you can like you see in this example. Now, if you just you are choosing the ship to party and carrier as a factor, then it can be for the whole delivery that it is going into that, or maybe you're just choosing the document type and ship to party, right? So it kind of becomes at the delivery level, but it is very much at the item level. Now these are the actions. So these activities which we want, so there is a choice, right? Either you want the operator to do it, or you want system to carry out these activities. So mostly we are going to talk about the standard PPF. So PPF is, in another term, we can call it as a workflow, right? It is doing something based on certain event. Now those events are could be like you're packing a handling unit, you want to print a label. You have received a inbound delivery. So let's say you have created a Z document type for the inbound delivery, and we are going to see that particular example during the session. That so you have there is a specific scenario that there are low value item, or there is a specific vendor. So whenever you receive the product from the vendor, so you do not want to perform the good receipt. You want the system to do it automatically, right? So this step of posting the good receipt automatically is done by PPF. So now this posting of good receipt automatically, it's an action. So in PPF we call these as actions, right? Now in the delivery, for example, there could be multiple action you want system to perform automatically rather than operator doing it for you. First is whenever that delivery is received in EWM or distributed to EWM, you want the good receipt to happen automatically. Another action could be that you want the system to also create and confirm the put away task and confirm the product in a specific bin. So because you know that whenever the product is received near the from the door or the staging area, there is a specific shelf where this product gets stored. You do not want the extra overhead of operator scanning it. It's a low value item. You do not particularly want to track it, because if you're not scanning it, you lose the accuracy in the system, right? That the operator can make mistake and the operator can put it away somewhere else. So there is no linkage between what your system is telling you and what physically happens over there. But there is a specific scenario wherein you are not worried about it. So you want the system to post a good receipt automatically, and on top of that, a subsequent warehouse task gets created for put away right away, and it gets confirmed immediately as well, right? So if you want, so these are two actions now we are talking about, right? The good receipt and the creation of put away task and confirmation. So these two actions now, these two actions has to happen on a particular type of delivery, right? So which means that somewhere we need to mention the actions like gr and warehouse task. There could be another action of printing hu label, or you might have some customized label which needs to be printed when you do the gr. Now if you see, notice something here, except printing of HU label. Now if you see that the warehouse task will should be created once you post the good receipt, right? So good receipt is the event. Now when should the good receipt happen? For this, the event will be whenever delivery is created or created in EWM, and in other words, whenever it is distributed to EWM from S4, right? So there is a event. You have to select an event. So then the next event for warehouse task, when should it be created? For the put away task, when the GR is done, which means your delivery inbound delivery status. So basically you need to identify an event, and we are going to talk about the standard one. So we'll see where can we define it, right? So if you look at it now, printing HU label, when should it be printed? When you are on the final screen of when you're confirming the unloading task. This is just an example. Custom label when GR is posted, right? So if you look at it, and the example which I've spoken about is that, let's say we have created for a specific scenario for whenever that delivery, specific delivery document type, whenever the delivery is received or distributed to AWM, the GR should, these things should needs to happen automatically. So which means that they are linked to the delivery, right? Based on the delivery and the good receipt status. And I'm talking about the inbound process, right? So which means that if I want to club these actions together, there should be some option to put them together. So what we are going to do is we are going to create something called as action profile, and we are going to put these individual actions in that action profile, right? So action profile is nothing but it's like a box in which you are informing the system that these are the action which I may or may not want to trigger for all of them for a particular delivery document type, right? You maybe you all you want to do is you just want to post a good receipt automatically. You do not want the put away task to be created automatically, or just want to create automatically, but you don't want them to be confirmed, or you may not even want them to be created automatically, right? Or the labels, because if you are practically speaking, ASN is inbound delivery is a ASN, right? Inbound advanced shipping notification. You might not even have received the product at that point of time, so it's in transit. So vendor is just informed. So if you're printing the label at that point of time, there is a quite a good amount of chance that they'll be lost. Now, so the whole point here is that it's not necessary that you have mentioned multiple actions in action profile that you want to trigger all of them. It's a choice, right? So if you do not want, let's say, this to happen ever, so you have to mark this as inactive, because let's say we have copied the standard action profile and these are the action, but some of the actions are not necessary or not relevant for us, so we can mark them as inactive. And it's not necessary that we have to mark them inactive, then only they'll stop working. So we'll see, further down the line, uh, something called as condition record. If you don't maintain the condition record and there is another factor, then they won't work. But right now, what we are trying to understand, what is PPF? What is the objective of PPF? The objective of PPF is to carry out certain activity in the warehouse automatically, rather than, and we have, when we say automatically, there has to be a specific event, a specific situation wherein we, when that happens, then we want to trigger it. And what is the criteria, right? Because there could be many inbound delivery which we are going to receive in the system, but not for all of them we want to perform the good receipt automatically. Let's say if the inbound delivery is received from particular vendor, then it should happen, right? So a criteria, so right, and a situation or the event. Now, so I hope that we have understood what is the action, right? It could be even label printing or an activity like creation of warehouse stock, which operator can do it, but we want to automate it to reduce the overhead. Now, apart from that, and we said that we will club these. We want to club all these actions together, and so that is the purpose of the action profile is to keep club them together. Right now, we also said that we want this to happen to certain. The scenario which I've taken is that whenever I receive a specific inbound delivery which has a specific document type, now, which means that it needs to be assigned to delivery document, right? Now, one thing you will notice in EWM is that, and let me show the screen also, that if you see, this is a specific document, inbound delivery document type. PDI is category show signifies that it is an inbound delivery, and this is a specific document type. And there is a field called action profile, right, which is at the delivery level. Now, when we say delivery level, it means header level, right? So some of the actions are applicable to the whole delivery, which means when we say whole delivery, all the line items. So even though the event or the event has been triggered for just one of the line item, the action is applicable to the all the line item in the delivery, and we're gonna see that. Now, I spoke about the wave functionality also, right? So wave functionality is at item level. So what I'm trying to explain here is that it's not a thumb rule that all the actions are applicable at for all the line items in the delivery. There can be certain action which, even though they are in the action profile which is assigned to the delivery document, right, but still they will happen, or the action will be performed at item level. So wave assignment is one of the example. So you can have three deliveries, sorry, you can have three delivery with multiple line items, but because the warehouse process type is at item level and you have created the wave template or determination at item level, then the wave all the three line item can go and sit into different wave, right? So don't the only point I'm trying to stress here is that don't assume that because the action profile is at the header level or at the delivery document level, all the actions will always happen or become applicable, will be applicable for all the line items of the delivery. That's not the case. Now, there is another example like loading list in the TU document. So if you want to print a TU loading list, it will include the information of all the line items. So that is sort of at header level. Now, waiver assignment is at item level, right? Now, uh, now that we have understood that the action profile assignment happens at the delivery level. Now, if you look at the item level information, we will notice that we don't even have the option to mention the action profile. So there is no option to mention the action profile, right? It is only available at the delivery level. Now let's continue with the point. So we understood what are the actions. So these actions are, some of these are what I've mentioned is that, except the last one. So these action are all standard one, right? GTS check. GTS check is at item level, and then you can perform for the delivery as well. Now, criteria. So when should it happen? So one is the situation, right? When should it happen? But for which delivery line item, right? Or for which type of delivery? That is the criteria. So we call this as condition record. Now, those who have the background of SAP EC, doesn't matter the module, you must have gone through the condition technique, right? So what we say, what is condition technique is that we create a condition table. Table is nothing but a grouping of certain fields. So we will say that if the document, if the delivery document type for it, or rather inbound delivery document type is zinb, right? So the field is delivery document type and the value will be zinb. And if warehouse number is ZD14, then determine the action for auto GR. So somewhere in the system, we will define this. So let me bring that screen right away so that you get a clarity. So this is the screen, the transaction code is DLV PPFC. So this is the transaction code. If you come to this transaction code, let me go back. So the application is delivery, and this is the Z maintenance group which I've created. It's not necessary that you have to create it. I just create it for the learning purpose. And the maintenance context is GCM. You can see that this is grayed out. So by default, when you come to this transaction code, this is the value. Now, when you go over here, so these are the fields, right? Some of the fields are just capturing the information when it was created, date of creation, etc. But there are fields which are part of your condition table, so which we are going to see now. So I've already maintained a condition record. Now you can see this is the condition type. This is the action. What is the action you want to perform? So the our objective here is to perform the good set automatically. Now for which document type? Because you do not want it to happen for all the documents. So you here you're creating a condition table, right? So document type, goods movement status. When should it happen? So when the delivery is distributed. There will be other status like when the delivery is changed, right? Or the goods movement, because here it is I do not want it to be restricted based on the goods movement, because you will have certain status like not started to in progress or in progress to completed. Now the objective of this functionality which I'm demonstrating here is that whenever the delivery is distributed, it should post the good set automatically, right? So the indicator for change mode is uh, whenever it is created, which is initial, and this is the field. So basically the field, if we look at document type and the warehouse number, is the main field which is there in my condition table. So this is the standard condition table. Now the certain fields are, they are always there, because when you're creating the condition record, you need to mention the validity, and this is the action which I want the system to perform on this delivery document type. Now what is inside this action, right? So this will be ultimately a piece of code, right? And I'm using even though it looks Z, but I've copied a standard one. I've mapped a standard method or the function module behind the scene. So we are not going to worry about what needs to be written in the code, etc. So that is the part of the technical team, and once we explain to them, they can write it. So the factor which I'm using in the condition table is delivery type, because I want to restrict this action, right? I don't want this to happen globally for all the inbound deliveries. Now this is the criteria. So you need to define criteria. First, you need to decide what is the action. And if you have multiple action, you'll group together all the action under something called as action profile. And you need to keep it this thing in mind that the action profile is at the delivery level. So some of the action are applicable to all the line items. You can't restrict it or put it at the item level. Like if you see the goods movement status, right? So these status gets updated even if you're posting the good state for one of the box. The status will change for the delivery at the header level, right? It will start from not started to in progress. So if I put that kind of criteria here, it will whatever the action is, it will apply to all the line item. Now so this is the criteria, action profile. Now we'll proceed further. So these are some of the example which, just to understand what is PPF, right? PPF, like I said, it is a activity which we want system to perform on behalf of user automatically. So printing of loading list, printing of handling unit labels, wave assignment, and like I said, there are certain actions which are, even though they are part of the action profile, which gets assigned to the delivery, but they are still at the item level, and some of them are at header level. So again, So these are some of the T transaction code which I've mentioned here. So we have looked at DLV, PPFC, wherein we can maintain the condition record for the delivery document level. This is for printing the label. So I don't think I can cover all the points in one of the recording. So I'll create separate one for separate topic like label printing or the warehouse order printing. This transaction code is used to print, set up the print parameters and other details for loading list and CMR. And this is where you maintain the pool for printer, pool or for if you have multiple printers, etc. Or how many documents should be printed. Now let's jump into an example and understand it. So first thing what I've done is, and before I dive into it, the objective here is that whenever I receive a delivery document with a specific document type, the GI should happen automatically. So for that purpose, what I've done is I've created a Z document type, and you can see that the action profile standard one is replaced by a custom one. Now, if I go to the transaction code, so there are the whole PPF function is divided into three parts. One is the action itself, right? So what is the action needs to be performed? Good reset in this case. When should it happen? There is something called as schedule and start condition. And I won't talk about action merging at this point of time, but schedule and starts. What is schedule condition? It means that, let's say, uh, whenever the handling unit is created, the PPF to trigger or an output type to print the label should become available. And this functionality was even there in S4, right? So if you there were four options. Do you want to print the document, out print the document via the output type whenever the document is saved, or you want to print it via a job, or you want to explicitly perform that activity. So that it is exactly similar to that. So if you have set the condition as that you want to print it via batch job, so which means that whenever the handling unit is created, the action will be triggered, but it will not be performed or executed. It will stay in yellow status or waiting status. There will be a batch job which will pick it up and then it will print it. So schedule condition controls whether the action for that particular based on certain event is applicable or not. It doesn't control whether it should be performed right away. Like should I mean, of course, if you have set it the schedule condition as it should be performed when the document is saved, then yeah, it will be executed. But if you want to just schedule it and you want it to be executed by a job, then you can control it. So, and start condition is that schedule means, let's say, the the loading list. I'll take an example of a loading list. If the TU transportation unit is created and the status has been updated as check-in, then it should be scheduled. Now the start condition could be that certain parameters are met, then only it should be performed. Otherwise, it should not be printed. So we'll get into the detail. So now let's go to the third factor, determination of action. So this is the condition table. So on if you do not maintain this, right, it's not going to determine this action. Just by creating an action definition, assigning it in action profile, and then assigning the action profile to the delivery doesn't ensures that it will be triggered unless you maintain the condition record. So that is the third piece. There is another factor which I must bring to your notice. So this is the screen wherein we see the action profile, and within that we have different actions. So just to keep it simple, we have two action: posting the good receipt and the creation of put away task. We can automate these two uh, actions. Now this is a bit technical, and I don't think at this point of time we should be getting into the details, because I'm using the standard method for posting the good receipt automatically, right? So this part can be taken care by your development team. You need to explain what is the requirement, what do you want to print. Is there a form, is there an activity you want to trigger an email to someone, or there is a subsequent activity which should happen. But just let's stick to this. So there is an action. There are two actions. We club them together under action profile, and this action profile is assigned to your delivery document. Now that action profile which we just saw, it won't be determined unless you maintain a condition record. right? So this is the action definition. And what is the purpose of action definitions is to pose a good reset automatically, right? Now we are decide informing the system when should it happen. So whenever the delivery is created and the delivery document type, this is the selection criteria. So like you run a report, right? You enter a selection parameter, based on that you get an output of the report, right? So it is similar to that. It's a selection parameter. So only when the selection criteria which you have maintained here is found in the delivery, then this action definition is read, and whatever code is written in the action definition, then that activity is performed, right? Now there is another crucial factor. Even though you have done this setup, you have defined the action profile definition, maintained the condition record. Now there is a condition. So to create the table, it near the condition technique is used. So you create a table, you assign it to access sequence. Access sequence is assigned to condition type and to a procedure. Then your procedure is determined based on certain factor, right? So that part I'm not covering over here. Otherwise, the video will be too long. Now, the important factor which you have to make sure that you perform it, right? Even like in this example, everything is done. But if this step is missed out, your action definition will not be determined. It will not work. So you have to go to this node, and this is the place where you can give the schedule condition and start condition. So schedule condition in this, the example which I took is that if your transportation unit you know uh, gets a specific status, the check-in status is an example. So you have status profile, right? So wherein you have different status. So if one of the, let's say, door assignment is one of the status, if the door assignment is done, then the loading list should be printed, right? So that is controlled by your schedule condition, that when should the ppf be gets visible in your transportation unit document, at which status. So unless until the TU is assigned to a door, the PPF will not be triggered. So schedule condition is very important. Now, then you also have an option that do you want to print it automatically or do you want to print it via job? That is there in your action definition. So this is the one which we are dealing with. So what you have to do is, if you go to the edit mode, once you have defined the action definition profile, a condition table and everything, there is an option to create this one. So you have to use this option to create the action definition under this profile. If you'll not do this, it will not work. So make sure you don't miss out on this step. So this is your schedule condition wherein you can give the different status. Like in example of TU, I've given the example that the status should be checked in, or a door assignment, etc. So in the delivery document as well, you can see the status, right? So based on certain status, you want it to be visible here in the screen. Only when that schedule condition is uh, met, then it will be visible in PPF. And then based on your action definition, whether you have set it up as uh, to be processed right away, or like these are the status, let's say good receipt or packing or whatever, these are various options. So in another video, I'll cover that schedule condition in terms of TU assignment, and then we can take a look at it. So now that we have this here, so once these setups are done, then you are good to go, and you use the action, the PPF which you have defined. Now let's go inside one more time. So this is the place where you can inform the system whether you want it to be executed when you are saving the document right now, or you want to do it via report. So when your schedule condition is met, the PPF will be available in your document. But let's say the example of loading list, if I've mentioned, or in this example, if I'm putting this as selection report, then there has to be a batch job schedule to execute the PPF. Otherwise, it won't be processed automatically. you can see the options schedule automatically, right? So this plays a quite a important role in your execution. Now we will take an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a inbound delivery by adding the stock. So I'm adding the inventory here. So this step can be also done by sync gr, but just to demonstrate the functionality about PPF, I've disabled sync gr for movement type 561. So the requirement, the scenario here is that whenever we are receiving the inventory by with movement 561, there is a inbound delivery which will be generated, and that S4 inbound delivery will be mapped to a Z document type in EWM. And once the delivery is created or distributed in EWM, the GR should happen automatically. And as well as the put away should also happen automatically. So this is the delivery ending with number 2 or 12. So if I go here, you can see that the status of the good receipt is coming as already completed. So the rest of the status are coming as not started. Now you can see that the good receipt is already done. So we'll go to the warehouse monitor and check the detail. Even though the PPF of the put away task is getting triggered, but it may or may not have created the put away task because of the locking issues. And keep in mind that this is a demo system, so it's not gonna work perfectly. So we can see that, I mean, of course, there is no warehouse task or order created, but we can certainly see that the good receipt is done automatically. Now, how did it happen, right? What are the various factors? So the document type, if you want to see the document type, we'll go to the header level and we'll check the document type. So it is ZINB, and that is what we mentioned in the condition record, right? This is the document type, this is the warehouse number, and the event is whenever the delivery is created. That is the event. Whenever the delivery is created, carry out this activity or this action. And this action definition is maintained in the action profile, which is assigned to my document type. And within the action, you can check the details, whether it says it should be processed right away or should be processed later on. Like for example, for specifically for the printing, you might not want to print them right away. All you want is that the option of or the PPF should be visible in the delivery document, but you want them to operate to print them, or you want them to print. So in this example, you can see that the processing is mentioned as saving it, you know, the when the document is saved. So this is the action definition, right? Here is the whole thing, right? What needs to be performed? That is what is mentioned here. But how to, when should it be triggered? When should it be executed? So it will be determined based on this criteria condition table, and then once the delivery is created, if you system finds a matching criteria, then it will determine the PPF. And then within the PPF, we have mentioned whether it should be executed right away or should we want operator to execute it. Now just giving a very high level view of the condition technique. So SAP provides a field catalog, nothing but it will list out the fields available. Then you will choose the fields, and the nomenclature is it will the condition table will start with the name as CUST. And once you'll create the table, you suppose you have created multiple tables, right? It's not necessary you'll just have one table. So if you've created multiple table, then uh, you'll group them together under something called as access sequence. And this is a condition technique concept which was there in S4 ECC as well as in it is still there in S4. So I won't go into the detail. There will be plenty of information data available on internet about it. Then you will map that access sequence to your condition type. In this case, the one which I am using is 0 PMG something. Then this condition type will be mapped to your determination procedure. So this is the procedure which I've created for auto good reset. And the condition type is mentioned here. The condition type retains the access sequence and in turn the condition table. And the application and area you can see it is for delivery. Then this procedure is assigned over here. So you can see that in this example, so I maintained it or assigned it based on the warehouse number, document type, and certainly there is a access sequence, like which factor you want to consider on which priority. So, so this is the maintenance group which we saw on screen in DLV PPFC. I mentioned the application area, the condition table, condition type. So once you will perform this step, when you access transaction code DLV PPFC, your uh, maintenance group will be visible. As you can see here. Thank you for your time.